Hey everyone. So today I wanted to go over several success habits that I've noticed leaders are using in their day-to-day life. And I wanted to share these 33 success habits that you can kind of build in your life as we're moving into the new year in 2018. I think building some new habits would be the way to go. I'm not so much for New Year's resolutions per se. I'm more about trying to improve and optimize some of the habits that we create day to day. And some of these habits could be really helpful to you as you're trying to be more successful in life and business and in your work. So let's get started and talk about these 33 habits that I've found from other successful people that they seem to be implementing in their daily lives. Number one, and this is part of the title of our group, is passion. So without passion, it's very difficult to actually be successful in your endeavor. So if you have this exciting drive in what you're doing, that's going to take you further ahead than most other people. So passion's number one. Number two is work ethic. I look back at my days and delivering newspapers when I was young, and that taught me the importance of working hard on whatever it is that I'm pursuing. So I think work ethic is highly underrated, but very important in whatever the work is that you're doing. So I'd really consider work ethic as a piece that can really push you to the next level. If you've got that work ethic paired with passion, you'll find that you can do quite a lot in your endeavors. Third one is persistence. Successful people continue when others give up. So I think that's really important, that you persist even in hard times, in the challenging times. So being persistent can help you continue further. And the fact is we often give up before we even give something a chance. So I think it's really important that you're persistent in your endeavor and that you continue to push through. And that's how you're going to see the fruits of your labor down the road, is if you can persist and continue. Number four is non-conformity. So successful people are a little different in their approach. They're unique. They cause a bit of chaos when others are maybe among the crowd. So being a nonconformist is important to stand out and be successful, because you're looking to find unique niches. You're looking to find unique areas that others have maybe never traveled to before. So nonconformity is really important. And I almost look at it like in terms of being a little bit weird, a little bit unique in your approach, because that's how you're going to stand out. That's how you're going to create something that matters in this world, is if you do not conform to the current societal norms that we're living in. So nonconformity is an important piece. Number five is cleverness. Your ability to be cunning in your approach, your ability to look at ways and maybe find a clever solution to problems is really critical. And then added to this is manipulation. Manipulation, number six, is this idea of being able to change people's mindsets, to actually get somebody to go in your direction, to follow in your direction. And that's really difficult to do, is to get people to see it your way, to get people to look at things your way. That's very challenging to do. So if you're able to manipulate somebody's mindset, to be able to sway them in your direction, then you're able to lead. And you look at political leaders as a great example. They're able to manipulate people to go in their direction, to vote for them. So manipulation is really important, and you'll see that quite frequently in a lot of people. And that can be successful. It can push their ideas to the world. So manipulation is actually really important, and not in the negative sense, it's more in the positive sense. Creativity is the next one. If you have this ability to be innovative in your approach, I think that's really important, and that falls under creativity, is to design and create things, problems, and to solve problems with your creativity is really critical. It's one of those skills that not many people have is in business is the creative skill, I'm finding. And it's not a skill that's really critical, or it's not something that's being shown as a popular piece, but it's a very important skill to be creative. Your technique, so your approach, your process for accomplishing tasks, your process for building out projects is important. The way that you approach some sort of an item is your unique technique, and that's important because it becomes part of your identity, is your technique. The next one is excellence. So we don't strive for the 7th place medals, we strive for the 1st place medals. Excellent, successful people are always looking for the number 1 solution, not the number 2 or 3. They're always going for number 1. So excellence is a really important habit to build in your repertoire. Vision is the next one. So again, successful people are looking at the long term. They're looking at, okay, how do I see this 20 years down the road? They have this incredible vision, and a leader needs to have vision in order to be successful. Next one is leadership. So are you able to lead people? Are you able to lead in your life? Are you able to lead in your business? Are you able to take a group of people and take them to the next level in your business? Are you able to help others grow? Are you able to help others develop? And that's the important asset of being a leader. Intuition. So successful people are just very understanding of a problem. They seem to understand how things work. They're very intuitive, and that's really critical, especially if you're trying to solve problems and you need that intuition. Next one is decisiveness. You can't be sitting around thinking about what decision to make. You have to make the next decision quickly. And to be able to do that on the fly and to make the right decisions is really important. You might have quite a few decisions that you have to make, and you need to be able to execute on them and take the trivial decisions that others maybe don't think about, and you need to be able to take care of those really quickly. The trivial decisions are the ones that will kind of define who you are, because if you take forever on the trivial decisions, it will take you years to solve any of the big problems that you need to decide on. Next one is calmness. So calm people are much more confident in their aura. They're the kinds of people that are very intriguing. So you need to be actually quite calm. And if you're all over the place, if you're running around with your head cut off, then you're not showing this aura of calmness. And being calm is so critical, because especially during very difficult times in your business or in life, remaining calm is so important. The last thing people want to see is you kind of running around all over the place. So continuing to be calm is really important as an indicator of success. Next one is listening. A lot of people like to talk about themselves, but I think the important thing is to listen, to actually take a step back and say, okay, what can I solve here? Instead of broadcasting ideas and whatnot, what are some problems that I can solve? And what do people need help with? Sometimes it's best to ask more questions by saying, hey, what can I help you with? And then people will actually just start letting you know what they need help with. And then you just need to listen, and then you can find out what kind of problems you can solve, and you can be successful by helping others. Next one is hustle. Hustle is really important. It's your ability to keep driving and keep doing the mundane things over and over and over again so that you can accomplish what you want to. You need to be able to keep pushing. Like this group, we got to over 1,000 members. And the reason why we got to over 1,000 members was because of the consistent hustle of both the members trying to interact with each other, but also, trying to grow it as well as the consistent outreach to new people that would be interested in this group is consistent hustle. So that was a really important piece to growing this group. And you're going to have to do that if you want to grow anything. Next one is dedication. You need to have this dedicated approach to what you're doing. You need to be really invested in the craft that you're trying to put out to the world. And you have to show that dedication. You have to show that you want to make something grow. If you aren't dedicated, nobody's going to buy into what you're doing. So dedication is really critical. The next one is money last mindset. So if you have a money last mindset, where you're focused more on creating fantastic value products and whatnot, and you're not even focused on what kind of money that this can generate for you. You're more focused on how you can improve the process, how you can improve this, how you can improve the business. And you're not so much thinking about revenue numbers, and you're just focused on continuing to improve what you're creating. The money will come later. But if you're approaching success in the way of, hey, money is not the most critical piece. The most critical piece is value. So if you can go in that approach with a money last mindset rather than a money first mindset, you're changing the game. So consider that when you're trying to build that success habit, is thinking about that mindset and not getting too wrapped up in the next dollar that you're making. The next habit is focus. As entrepreneurs, we can have tons of different ideas that we want to implement all at once, and it's a very dangerous road to go down. You want to choose a few ideas that you want to implement and focus on those. I'm guilty of this too, of not being entirely focused, but trying a number of different ideas that come to mind. I have an area where I write all these ideas down, which is actually really important, to get all my ideas out. And maybe I'm not going to use all of them, but it helps to get all that out of my head so that I can go back to focusing on the priorities that I've set, the goals that I've set for myself. And actually, if you set goals, that'll help you with your focus. Next habit is ambition. Successful people are highly ambitious. They again have that drive. This connects with passion, is the ability to just continue to go, and you need to have the ambition. You need to know what it is you're working towards. You need to say, this is what I'm going for, and this is why I'm going to keep going with this. So successful people, highly ambitious. Next one is action. So action habit is really important. Actually getting used to taking action is a good habit to really build, because we get in this thinking stage that we're going to think about this, we're going to think about doing that, or we get into this I should do that, I should do that, I should do that, and we never actually do what we talk about. So building out this concept of action, an action mindset, is actually really important, especially if you don't take any action at all right now. Then the best thing you can do is build this action mindset where you're just doing stuff just to get used to this rhythm of taking the steps to complete something. If you're one of those people that starts and never finishes, I'm also guilty of this, where I start something and maybe I don't finish it, then it's important that you keep building that habit out. But you want to take the action and then hopefully complete whatever it is that you're trying to build. But if you're not doing anything right now, the best thing you can do is start taking action. Start building this habit out. The next habit is opinion. Successful people have an opinion. They have a say. They have a stance in what they believe in, and they communicate that with others. They say, this is my thought. This is what I know. And it shows that you've studied what you know and you're communicating it. And you have the self-esteem and the self-respect in terms of what you know. And you're able to say, this is what I know and this is my opinion. It's really important to share your ideas. And your opinion matters. Your opinion is highly important. And people want to know your perspective. So if you want to be successful, you need to share your opinion to the world. People want to know what your thoughts are on different perspectives. And you have a life with many stories that you've accumulated over the years that you should be sharing. You should be sharing with the world. It could be through a blog. It could be just by helping others. And by sharing your thoughts as you're helping others, it's really important. It's been really valuable with my freelance clients in that I've been able to share my thoughts and ideas based on my corporate marketing experiences. I'm able to share some of the ideas that have worked, that have actually been practical. And that's important, is people look to you for your ideas. And your opinion matters. The more successful you become, your opinion matters even more and more in how you articulate that. The next habit is spine. You need to have a bit of hardiness, a bit of the ability to handle backlash. When somebody gives you feedback, you need to be able to handle it. You need to have the spine to say, I agree or I disagree, or that's a great fact, I'm going to look into that. You need to be able to take that and not get too emotional around somebody's feedback for you. Spine is really important. And you really need spine in today's world with social media, because if you don't have the spine to handle the comments that come in, or the negative feedback, or the critical feedback, it's going to be very difficult to survive in the online space, because you're going to get plenty of feedback of people telling you what you can and can't do. And you need to be able to filter out the noise and then also take the serious feedback and try to implement it. So having spine is really important. Next one is optimism. You need to have this aura of happiness, of this positivity when you're trying to tackle something. It's difficult because you're going to run into challenges. So you need to be optimistic. You need to say, look, this is going to work out. I know this will work. You need to be optimistic. We talk about positive affirmations and saying, I'm responsible and all this. These are important things. And continuing to remain optimistic when things are difficult, that's important. Because especially if you're leading other people, if you're pessimistic, that's going to rub off on other people. Negativity is not a good thing to have when you're trying to build a business. So you need to be optimistic. You need to be positive, and that you can turn the ship around when things go south. Next habit is courage. You need to be brave. You need to take risks. Hopefully they're calculated risks. Hopefully you've done your homework, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just have to get in there, try things, and that in itself is courage, to be able to try new things, to take those calculated risks and see what happens. Not enough people are brave enough to try that thing they always wanted to try. And I don't know if it's worth it to wait any longer, because you'll have regret if you don't have courage. So to be brave means to try these things that maybe nobody else can. And if you're courageous, others will look to you and they will become much more courageous in their pursuits as well. So as a leader, courage is really important. Next habit, learning. Most successful people are highly avid learners. They just read everything that comes to them. They're voracious readers every single day. Or maybe they're watching educational videos. The learning approach has changed quite significantly today in the 21st century, especially in 2010 and onward, with video education. So a lot of people are learning with video, just like this video here. Some people will maybe be learning from this, and books are still quite popular, of course. The top executives in the world are reading every single month. It's a couple books a month they're reading in some instances. And it's important to not think of yourself as somebody that knows everything, to always be approaching learning as a lifelong process. Even when you're done university, see, this is the problem that I see with university, is that a lot of people finish university and they became so sick of reading textbook material that wasn't interesting to them that they don't read anymore for the rest of their lives. So what happens is that their learning kind of decelerates, and it goes south because there's no passion to learn anymore. So find out what you can learn, and learn authentically, that you genuinely want to learn something. That's so important. So find out a piece that you'd like to learn about, and go for it. The next habit is sacrifice. You're going to have to make sacrifices if you want to be successful. Maybe you're watching a lot of TV right now. Maybe you're spending a lot of time in your schedule picking people up from whatever other activities, and it's like you're not sacrificing everything. You're giving everything to everyone else. And the problem is with that is that you're not actually accomplishing the most important tasks to further develop you, to further develop what's critical in your life. You're now focused on everyone else's schedule. And it's so important to say no and sacrifice the parties or the drinking at night. You kind of have to sacrifice your free time in order to be successful. You can't say, oh yeah, I'll join you guys for a few drinks. You're gonna have to sit back and do the things that nobody else is doing. And you have to realize that you're on a different path from everyone else. You're not a 9-to-5er perhaps. Maybe you're trying to build several hobbies, several passions. Look, this is going to take your mornings, your weekends, your nights. You're going to have to sacrifice your spare time in order to do something to make you successful. You're going to have to learn in your spare time. You're going to have to be reading. You're going to have to be doing the things that maybe nobody else is doing. And that's okay. You have to accept that sacrifice is okay, because you know that it will take you to the next level. Next habit, and we're almost done, is self-motivation. Self-motivation. So there are tasks that you are not going to want to do. It could be anything from administrative to just menial tasks that you don't want to put yourself through, but you have to put yourself through these tasks to push forward. You need to be self-motivated. You need to do the dirty work. And also, you can't sleep in. You have to wake up early. You gotta be motivated to get up when nobody's telling you to wake up. You have to have that alarm clock going. You can't hit the snooze button. You literally have to be driven, self-driven. You can't have somebody else telling you what to do. If you're always depending on your supervisor or a superior to motivate you, you don't have the internal drive. But you need the internal drive. If you want to get into this level of success, you need to have an internal motivation that isn't dependent on others. You can't depend on somebody else's highs to get excited about something. You can't depend on somebody else's energy to be successful. You need to build the energy for yourself. You need to take the steps necessary to be self-motivated, whether it's doing exercises in the morning to get you energized, or having green smoothies, or just fueling your body with nutrition, whatever that you can do to get motivated is really critical. Get excited about something though. We go back to that first habit of passion, right? If you've got the passion, it's much easier to be motivated. So think about that and think about your vision that we talked about. And if you've got that, then once again, you know what you're going for. You know why you need to be motivated. Next habit, long-term thinking. And this ties in with vision. So you're always thinking about the long term. Every strategy that you're building is for the long term. It's so important that you're not just thinking short term. The long term is really important because what happens is with a long-term thought, you can then build a process that leads up to that long-term thought. And that's really important. Because if you're thinking short-term, you're going to have short-term processes built for your short-term thinking. And it's going to be very difficult for you to be engaged. But if you're thinking long-term, you're going to start visualizing what's exciting for you, what could be exciting down the road, and having that in your long-term thinking is important. I hope, though, that you compare the long-term thinking with the habit of action, because some people get stuck in the long-term thought process and then they never really take action, which is dangerous. So the next piece is realistic expectations. So you need to have a habit of realism and think of something in terms of, okay, this is the truth. This is my reality. If you're confident enough in what you know, which is the reality, today's reality, this is what is my current situation. If you know your current situation, this is my realistic situation, then you can start setting realistic goals, realistic expectations for yourself. So you need to be a realistic individual with yourself. And this comes around with self-awareness and understanding who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses. So you need to be really realistic, and you can't set these crazy goals of, oh, I'm going to make $2 million next year, and then this year you made zero. Well, you're starting off with a very difficult goal that, unless you've got nicely laid out processes in place to get to the 2 million, it doesn't sound very realistic. But if you approach it from a realistic perspective, you're building out the realistic steps necessary to get there, then one, people will start believing in what you're saying. They won't think of you as a crazy person if you're realistic. So, and then two, you'll actually accomplish your goals. You'll be accomplishing your goals because they were realistic to begin with. I set 20 goals for the course of 2018, and some of them I've already accomplished, and I set them a couple months ago. And some of them, the ones that I accomplished, I looked at them and I thought about it, and I'm like, these are realistic goals. Now I know why I'm successful with these. It's because, okay, it wasn't too big of a leap. It was enough of a leap that I could do it. It was enough of a challenge that I realistically could accomplish it, but I know that it was going to be hard work. And then some of my other goals were actually a little bit too extreme. To go from like 0 to 10,000 YouTube views per video is quite extreme and can take a while. It can take a year, it could take several years. So, and it's not exactly dependent on what I'm doing. It's dependent on how people think of my content. So it requires a bit more finesse. It's not as easy. So that kind of woke me up in terms of realism, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to tweak this. So you need to be realistic. You can't latch on to dreams. So being realistic is important. Consider that. Next habit, work independence. You cannot depend on your boss to accomplish the work. The fact is somebody hired you, or you're responsible for a business, and you need to be able to have the mindset to accomplish the task when nobody else can help you out. There's times I remember when I was hired and the first day nobody was actually showing me around. I had to kind of figure out my way all by myself. I had to ask questions. I had to get out there and seek answers. You can't just sit there and think that the work will accomplish itself. You need to get out there and be independent and almost approach everything from an entrepreneurial mindset. It's like, how can I solve this? How can I solve that? Look at continual ways to solve the problems. And that way you can become more independent. If you depend on others for guidance, it's very difficult to really be successful. Because then you're always going to depend on your supervisor for the next answer. And that's a dangerous road. And people want you to take the workload off of them. They want you to just naturally take the workload off. If you can be that person that goes in there and says, I'll do that, I'll take care of that, and no questions asked, then you become more valuable. You become an asset. Next habit, humility. I think this is a really critical one. Being humble is so important to understand as a leader, as a person that wants to attain success, that being humble is a great way to continue to learn and to not know all the answers, and to take an approach of a very unemotional approach of just, being a quality person, being a good quality person, and having that humility is so important. The most successful people I've seen are very, we go back to calmness. They're calm, they're humble, they're just very down to earth people. And I think that's really important, is they're just a very calm, level-headed individual. And humility is a fantastic habit to build out here. And the last habit, strategy orientation. Successful people, they understand strategy. They understand how to win the war of their life, their business. They understand how to put the pieces together to get to that end goal, to get the checkmate. It's almost like chess. They're really familiar with strategy. They understand this long term. And I mentioned long term as several habits before, and I think long term is really important. We need to take a step back and figure out how we can outline the various steps in order to be successful, in order to be strategic, in order to accomplish that next goal. I think strategy is an important habit to understand. You need to be a strategic individual so that you can push your business to the next level. So those are the 33 habits that I see in successful people. And I mean, there's plenty more, but these are the critical habits that I see. And I hope that some of these are ones that maybe you can implement in your life. You can implement some of these habits, and it doesn't take much. Start with a couple, and if you go through the list, and how are you feeling with the list? Are you connected with a portion of these? Are you connected with the majority of these? Do you see yourself aligning with these habits? And that's what you need to ask yourself is, hey, do I align with these? If I want to be successful, are these habits something that are a part of my life? And this is what you need to look at in your life and say, yeah, I need to work on that. I need to work on that habit. These habits can be built out. You can improve on your leadership skills. You can improve on your listening skills. You can build out your learning ability by putting out the nice structures in your life that will help you to learn more. So you can learn these. If you're missing any of these skill sets, any of these habits in your life, you can easily implement them. So I encourage you to start looking at these and putting them to work for you. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'm really impressed with our subscriber group and just everyone following along and learning about business and life. I post these videos on YouTube and in our exclusive Facebook group, so it's really great to see people tuning in, watching and implementing some of these tips in their lives. I think it's really important, especially if you're trying to build out a business, to use some of these habits in your life. So thanks again for tuning in.